Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Franchise Hockey Manager 9 playthrough of the Chicago Blackhawks. And would like to wish all of our viewers Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah if you've been celebrating that, Happy Kwanzaa if you will be celebrating that shortly, Happy Festivus, Happy New Year, anything else that you may be celebrating. Hope that you're enjoying some quality time with family and friends during this most wonderful time of the year. We are about to begin this, I'd like to say it's a most wonderful playthrough, but it really hasn't been. It's been a mixed rebuild of the Blackhawks so far. We are about to get underway with our fifth season as general manager of Chicago. And by some measures, our rebuild has been very successful, as we did win a championship in our second season with this team. But by others, it hasn't been that successful, as we've missed the playoffs twice in our first year and our fourth season last year as general manager. And I don't really know exactly what this team is right now. I think we're going to be very competitive this year, but I'm not 100% sure of it. You can see that we actually have played one game this season. The game in the initial recording somehow crashed out on me right after the first game, but fortunately the game was saved and it doesn't look like we've had any damage to our database or anything else, so hopefully the rest of the season will go smoothly. Looking at this Blackhawks roster, big move from this past off season for us was trading away our next two first rounders for the young goalie Jesper Wallstedt from Minnesota. We think that he has got the potential to be a big-time goalie for us for the next several seasons, and thought that investing in him was a good decision. Clearly, the goal now is to have long playoff runs for each of the next two seasons to make those first-rounders that we're going to be giving up for him a little less valuable than they otherwise would be. Defensemen looking largely similar to last year. Two changes. We just picked up David Jaracek, who had been waived. And then Sam Rinzel is a player who drafted a few years ago, and we are going to have him moving right from the NCAA into an NHL lineup. Another youngster that we drafted in the first round a season or two ago, Victor Eklund, going to be making his NHL debut, or he did make his NHL debut yesterday, actually. Another rookie on the lineup, Nathan Villeneuve, who we drafted a couple of years ago. And then last but not least, Frank Nazar, who was drafted by the Blackhawks right before this playthrough actually started. Also going to, similar to Rinzel, be making a move right from college hockey into the National Hockey League. Other than that, a lot of familiar names on the roster. And one unfamiliar name who hasn't been able to make his debut yet is the other big trade that we did this offseason. Picked up Lauri Paganaimi from the Rangers. Believe he has potential to be a pretty dynamic scorer, kind of fill that Victor Arvidsson role on the wing that we've had the last several years, someone who can definitely put the puck in the net for us, not necessarily the greatest defensive player in the world, but felt like we needed someone to help our offense, and thought that he was a reasonably priced option to do that. So we'll see how he does, hopefully in a month and a half or so when he's back. As I mentioned, we did start the season yesterday, beat Colorado 4-2. The really good news from that was that Dylan Larkin, who had an injury-plagued season last year, started the year off with a hat trick. So really nice start to the season for the Blackhawks. Hopefully we can keep it going in game 2 of the season at Edmonton tonight. Taking a look at the schedule, do only have 3 home games in the month of October, so if we can get through this month of October with a record above 500, I would say that that would be a really nice start to the season for Chicago. And the good news is we got another win, 8-2 over Edmonton. But Dylan Larkin, just after we were gleeful that he had a big first game, going to be sidelined with a bruised cheekbone for about 5 days. So not the most serious injury in the world. Stinger for Gavin Hayes. He's going to be out about 4 days also. So a couple of minor injuries But certainly that 8-2 win over Edmonton, a great start to the season. Mitch Marner with 2 goals and 2 assists, Hronek with a goal and an assist, and Dickinson with a couple of assists. We actually, this was the negative part of me losing that initial save. I had wanted to give our backup goalie action in the back-to-back days. Instead, we put Wallstedt out there back-to-back days, and he was solid, saving 24 of 26 shots, and he now has a 2-0 record on the young season, most wins in the league. You can see Marner and Larkin with their strong starts to the season up there in points, goals with Larkin, and then Paul Cotter had 3 assists in game 1 of the year, and we sat him yesterday because he was a little, yesterday because he was a little winded, but nice start to the Blackhawks. We'll see, as I said, if we can get out of the month of October with a winning record. And it's been a great start for the Blackhawks. You can see a 5-0 record, so obviously in first place, Wallstedt leading the league in wins. We're finally going to give him a day off today on the road in Seattle with back-to-back games, and give an opportunity in front of the net for Jakub Skarek. Job security, fans are still not that happy. You can see we were at a 41 to start the season, but fortunately with the 5-game winning streak, fans feeling a little better about what we're doing at this point. Job security still really strong. Ownership wants us to make the playoffs, and team harmony is in a really good shape at this point. Made some moves over the last year and a half, getting rid of some players that were not that popular, and also strengthening our staff with some players who are pretty good at player management, and that has led to a pretty harmonious locker room, which hopefully we'll be able to keep going. And we finally did lost that game at Seattle. Jakub Skarek was not the good luck charm that he has been for us over the last couple of years. Typically seemed like whenever we got on a long losing streak, we would bring him into the lineup and he would get a win for us, particularly last year. In the year before, you can see an 8-3-6 record in 2024-25, and then 8-6-3 last year. So he definitely had at times, particularly 2 years ago, been a pretty good slump buster for us, but bit of a rough outing his first game of the year here, allowing 6 goals to the mighty Kraken. And the month of October is in the books now. Blackhawks with a 7-2 start, so everything we could have hoped for. Kind of interestingly, Jakub Skarek is 0-2. Our backup goaltender has lost the 2 games that he's played at Seattle and at Carolina. But definitely feeling like the trade for Wallstedt may have been a good one. You can see it's obviously very early going, but a 7-0 record with a 184 goals against and a 941 save percentage. Definitely feeling like the young goalie could be a key member of this team for many years to come. A lot of the other young players contributing also. Sam Rinzel, +2 over 6 games. Victor Eklund's been pretty effective, 3 goals and 4 assists in his first 9 games. Nathan Villeneuve, 2 goals and an assist, although he is -4 while he's been on the ice. And then Frank Nazar with a goal and 3 assists in his first 9 games at the NHL level. So have gotten some contributions from the young guys, which is great to see. As far as the injury, we're still 2 to 3 weeks away from Paginaimi making his debut for the Blackhawks. Top-selling jerseys, Marner, Hughes, Larkin, Horvat, and Kunin. So a lot of the veterans, no surprise there, although I would think that perhaps our new goalie would be selling a lot of jerseys. That doesn't seem to have happened yet. Development report, Gavin Hayes at the NHL level shows some improvement. A little surprising, though, that none of the other young players made any improvement in the month of October. We definitely have focused our training on a lot of the young guys that we were just talking about. So hopefully, over the course of a full month at the NHL level in this upcoming month of November, we'll get some improvement from some of our young players also. Wallstat, not surprisingly, the goalie of the month. 7-0 start with a 184 goals against average makes some sense. And taking a quick look at attendance, once again, easily leading the league, have sold out our only 3 games. So we did raise prices last offseason, which was another thing that fans were not excited about, particularly after a non-playoff season, but seems like there still remains a lot of demand to go to these games in Chicago. So that is positive. Definitely feel like we can back off on game promotions a little bit. We'll see how that goes. Team morale, we'll try to offset that with a big investment, keep people happy. That, I think, has also been a big factor. We've definitely been investing heavily in team morale for the last year and a half, and I think that has also been a big factor in the good clubhouse environment that we have right now, after having had some pretty serious cliques and a lot of tension and a lot of open hostility not all that long ago. And after the good start to the season, owner Rocky Wirtz thinks that we're off to a successful start. The fans still aren't thrilled with us, but most importantly, Wirtz says replacing us is out of the question right now. So we're doing well with him. Hopefully, if we keep playing well on the ice, we'll win the fans over. Taking a look at the schedule for this month, a little more of an even split between home and away games. Favors the home games, though, with 6 in the United Center and 5 on the road this month. So hopefully can put together a winning record in November, just like we did in the month of October. And after a loss yesterday at home, first loss of the year for Wallstat, our former captain, one of the guys who we did get rid of to kind of clean up some of the clubhouse issues, Patrick Kane, being shot by the Stars. You can see he had a solid year in his first year with Dallas last year, 20 goals and 45 assists, and does have 6 points through 9 games this year. We do have the ability to take on his contract, but given that he was such a central part of the clubhouse issues that we had about a year and a half ago, don't think we'll be bringing him back, unfortunately. And as we've simmed ahead to late November, some good news. Paginaimi ready to come back, and couldn't have happened at a better time because it's been a pretty rough month for the Blackhawks. Only won 2 games so far this month, beat the Islanders at home and just beat Nashville on the road. Have had a couple of overtime losses among those losses that we have, but the record has slipped to 9-6-2. And we're on the outside of the playoffs looking in at this point. So obviously early stages of the season, 9-6-2 is still not a bad record, but hopefully Paginaimi's offensive prowess will help us. Question is who we're going to send down or trade away to open up a spot on the team for him. And I think we may look to trade away Jason Dickinson. 31-year-old is in the last year of his contract with us. He is one of our better defensive forwards, so that's a reason to potentially keep him around, but we just haven't been playing him that much. You can see his game ratings are pretty much the lowest on our front line, given the fact that he's going to be a free agent after this year. He's going to be 32 next season. Just think it may be time to move on from him. Could try to sneak him onto the AHL team, but right now we're actually just going to see what we can potentially get in a trade offer. So we are going to go ahead and shop him around. If I can Find that. There we go. Shop around Mr. Dickinson. See what, if anything, we can get for him. No offers. So that's a bit of a tell. I'm then going to try to send him to the AHL, see if he can clear waivers. If not, he'll be down in the AHL, but we will put Mr. Paginaimi onto the active roster, and hopefully he will be ready to help us out going forward. And November ended up being a brutal month for the Blackhawks. As good as October was, November was worse. You can see our record is 9-8-3. Definitely on the outside of the playoffs, looking in a month and a half into the season. Just a really rough month for the team. You know, we got the wins against the Islanders and Nashville that I had mentioned, and that was it for the month. 3 of the losses were overtime losses, so we scratched out 3 points in that massive number of losses we had for the month, but certainly need to start playing better here in the month of December. And you can see for most of this month, we're going to be going every other day. So pretty intense schedule coming up for the Blackhawks here in December, and going to have to do a better job than we did in November. Looking at the development report, good to see some of the youngsters improving. Eklund, Holloway, Korchinski, and Wallstat all improving their abilities a little bit. So the investment in training with some of those better players is definitely paying off. Gustav Forsling, who could be in his last year with us, slipping back a little bit in his acceleration at the age of 30. Going to be an important month for us here in December. I can't lie. If we're in a situation where we're still kind of floundering when we get to the new year, going to have to start thinking about, do we sell off players to get some additional draft assets? I feel like this team should be really competitive. So far at 9-8-3, that's not nearly as competitive as I want this team to be or expect this team to be, but we're not even a quarter of the way through the 82-game season yet. So have an opportunity to get things right-sized as far as our record here in December. If we don't, we're going to have to start having some serious discussions and serious thought about what this team really is and what it may not be. So the good news is we stopped that little mini losing streak against the Wild. Bad news, Dylan Holloway suspended for 7 games. And the rookie center, Nathan Villeneuve, going to be out with a fractured shoulder blade for 1 to 2 months. He had definitely kind of slowed up. You can see just 3 goals and an assist in 16 games and -7 on the year have started giving him a little less playing time recently, since he hasn't been incredibly productive, but still not great that the youngster is going to be gone until sometime in late January, most likely. Owner is satisfied. Fans still not thrilled with us, but I guess the one benefit of the fact that we've got a little better depth in the minors than we had in the past is that we've got some guys who can come up and hopefully produce for us and contribute at the NHL level, while Villeneuve is going to be on the injury list. So we will put him on the IL. We're going to be without Holloway for the better part of the next 2 weeks for sure. We are playing every other day, as we saw on the calendar. So the fact that he's going to be gone for the next 7 games, going to weaken our roster a bit, since we won't have as much depth. Taking a look down in the minors, could bring up Mathis Dubé. He's been on a great start in the ECHL. We're actually going to promote him to the AHL, but not going to bring him right to the NHL. I think it probably makes sense to bring Dickinson back up. We're fortunate that he wasn't claimed by anybody, although given that no one wanted to trade for him, that's not a shock. You can see he hasn't been good in the AHL, but hopefully that defensive-minded toughness that he brings to us will help us improve the roster a little bit. Or I don't know if improve the roster a bit, but give us a dimension that we don't have while Villeneuve is on the injury list and Holloway is suspended and Cotter is still banged up. So great that we got the month of December off to the good start with a win, but playing every other day, we're a little banged up. Hopefully we'll be able to keep a relatively fresh roster going for the next couple of weeks. And another one of our good young players banged up. We've got the opportunity to delay treatment for Victor Eklund, out for 2 to 3 weeks with a strained pec. We're going to let the youngster go right on the IL. He's hit a great start to his career for us. You can see 8 goals, 9 assists, 17 points in his first 23 games, on pace for a season that most likely will have him on the all-rookie squad and could have him in the mix for Rookie of the Year. So going to miss him for, probably 8 or 9 games with the intense schedule that we have, but we're not going to delay his treatment. Would rather that we just get past this injury and hopefully have him back and healthy by the time the calendar turns to 2027. And another game, another loss, another injury. Philip Hronek should be out indefinitely with a ruptured UCL. Could delay it, but although we don't have a ton of depth at forward with the injuries right now, we do have some good young defensemen that we wouldn't mind seeing more of. So we're going to put Hronek right onto the injured list. He's in the final year of his contract, making $6.6 million. Certainly this big injury doesn't make us more likely to bring him back. I think he's a pretty fully priced player at this point anyways. Wonder what he's looking for. He's looking for almost $8 million a year. Yeah, hard to imagine that we'll be bringing him back, but that's not the key priority right now. Right now we're going to get him onto the IL, and we're going to bring up one of our top youngsters. We could bring Regula back, who you may remember we sent down when we picked up Jaracek, and Regula has been solid in the AHL. 16 points in 22 games for a defenseman is really good. He is -2 on the season, though. The other options to bring up would be any of the young defensemen. Willsby is more of a replacement level guy at this point. He's -6 on the year, but Luke Coughlin +6 on the year for the 21-year-old in the AHL, and Matteo Rotundi is +1. He's only played 10 games. I think we're going to be conservative right now and go with Regula, who's a little more established. Bring him up to Chicago, but I don't feel like Coughlin is very far away at all from joining the team. And we've made it to mid-December. Some good news that Holloway's suspension is finished. We have been playing a little better the last few days. You can see at this point we've strung 3 wins in a row together against the Penguins, at Arizona, and home against the Devils. And we still have 5 of our final 7 games this month are going to be at home. So hopefully an opportunity for us to really improve things. We're 14-11-3, still just on the outside of the playoffs looking in at this point in the Western Conference. We're the first team out right now, but playing better. And I think certainly having Holloway back will help. Getting close to Eklund being back, which would also be a help. Villeneuve and Hronek, though, aren't going to be back for quite some time at this point. And the Blackhawks are really rolling as we get closer to the holidays. Another win against Carolina last night. Dylan Larkin with a hat trick. Taking a look at the schedule now, we've won another 3 games since we last checked in, all at home against Detroit, Dallas, and Carolina. So that pushes our winning streak to 6 games at this point. Standings wise, we're still just barely in the playoffs at this point. The second wild card in the Western Conference, so we'd be the 8th seed if the playoffs were to start today. But we have gotten on a little bit of a roll here, got the record up to 17, 11, and 3. Can see Larkin is up there in terms of goal scoring on the season, and Wallstedt at this point in save percentage and wins are fifth in the league. So playing a little better right now, and we also are getting close to the point where hopefully Eklund will be back soon. You can see that Korchinski is banged up day to day with a bruised foot, so not that as serious of an injury for our young left defenseman who is having an okay year. 10 points through 31 games, -4 though. But clearly getting this team healthier would be helpful. And as I've talked about, should have Eklund back before the end of the month. And hopefully by the end of the month, Korchinski will be totally healthy as well. And hopefully we won't have any new injuries to report. It's kind of interesting. We had talked about the fact that we had brought on Paginaimi from the Rangers. He's been okay for us. 5 points in his first 11 games, including 3 goals. Has been giving us a little bit of offense, but definitely not as dynamic as I may have hoped at this point. But as we talked about, he doesn't bring a ton to the table defensively, but should be a guy who can put the puck into the net from time to time, which has been a struggle for these Blackhawks at time over the past several seasons of this playthrough. And as we get near the end of December, Victor Eklund finally back in the lineup today, and you can see that recommendation is to pair him with Larkin and Marner on the top line. We had been back when all of the guys were healthy, been pairing Eklund with Nazar and Villeneuve to get the 3 youngsters some time together. But right now we're a little short on wingers, so you can see that Nazar is actually playing center today. We're not really short on wingers, but we're benching Dickinson to ensure that Nazar continues to get some playing time. So he's getting some time at center today. I think this is the last game of the month. Oh, no, we do have a home game against San Jose to finish off the month, but we did have our winning streak finally snapped at 7 games against Dallas, our last time out on the road. Hopefully we can finish off the month and the year strong at St. Louis today, and then home against the Sharks. So the good news is we won both of those games to finish the month of December in the year of 2026, beat St. Louis and San Jose 4-1 in both. So taking a look at the standings as we move into 2027, we're in the playoffs if the season were to end today, and we're only 3 points away from leading the Central Division, which admittedly is the weakest division in terms of the number of points that the leader of the division has in hockey at this point. Larkin with 19 goals, having a nice year. Wallstedt doing everything we would have hoped of our potential franchise goalie. So things going pretty well from that perspective. Paginaimi going to be out for about 2 weeks, so we're going to need to move him to the IL. Still surprised that we're not selling more jerseys from Wallstedt there, but apparently they're not big fans of the goalies anymore in terms of the jerseys, at least in Chicago. Development report looks good. Eklund, Jaracek, Nazar, Rinzel, Sillinger, Skarek. A lot of the youngsters with good development months for us. Dickinson and Horvat, one guy that we're almost certainly moving on from, and one guy that could be nearing the end of his run with the team. Both slowing down a little bit. Horvat's been good in terms of assists with 18 and 35 games, only 5 goals though, so 23 points through 35 games for him. Okay start to the year, but not exactly what we hoped we'd be getting from him in terms of production when we brought him on board a few seasons ago. Connor Bedard, Player of the Month, having a monster year, 53 points in 36 games so far for the Flames. Turning to our top scorers here at the beginning of 2027. We've already talked about Larkin, who's leading us in goals. Mitch Marner, another one of our stars, only 2 goals behind, 23 assists, leads the team with 40 points. Leader in assists is the defenseman Quinn Hughes with 24. We've talked about Horvat. He's actually fourth on the team in scoring, so I guess I can't say that he's having that bad a year. We're still struggling to generate offense. Formenton with 8 goals, Eklund with 9, even though he has missed some time. Rinzel, the rookie defenseman, 20 points, plus 3 on the year. Forsling, the veteran, plus 14 on the year. Cole Sillinger, the youngster, is 5 goals. Nazar, the youngster, 6 goals. Gavin Hayes, another youngster, with 5 goals. Rasmus Anderson, plus 15 on the year, although he's not doing a ton of scoring. Kunin with 5 goals, Konechny with 6, and Paginaimi with 4 in limited playing time. So season has been fine so far. I wouldn't say it's a rousing success, given that we are still in a very difficult battle for our playoff lives at this point. Only up 3 on being out of the playoffs. But as I talked about, we're only 3 away from leading the division also. So got a big battle ahead of us over the remainder of the season without a doubt. But the team is getting healthier at this point, with the fact that we do now have Mr. Eklund back, who has been a revelation in terms of his ability to score. Feeling real good about that pick at this point. Picked him at 17 about a year and a half ago. Brought him up or signed him to his entry-level contract this past off-season, and he has been a really nice contributor for us so far with 20 goals in the first 25 games of his NHL career. But we're in a battle for the playoffs, and we've still got almost 50 games left in this season, so a lot of work ahead of us, and we will find out how it goes in our next episode. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.